In today's video, we're going to be talking about chronic inflammation and 7 signs to watch out for. Chronic inflammation is when inflammation occurs for a prolonged period of time, and it can happen in different areas throughout the body. Chronic inflammation is the root cause of almost all modern-day diseases, including diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, and autoimmune conditions, so it is not something to take lightly. In 2014, it was estimated that over half of Americans had at least one disease relating to chronic inflammation, with most of these people having more than one. Chronic inflammation has become an epidemic, but one that we have normalized. We chalk up these symptoms to just what happens as we age. But just because these diseases are common does not mean that they are normal. Type 2 diabetes used to be called adult onset diabetes because it was only seen in adults. Now that it has become more common in children, it has been relabeled as type 2 diabetes. And this is just one example of how these diseases are not a product of aging, but rather our lifestyle. But here's the good news. There are steps you can take to reverse chronic inflammation and the associated disease risk. In today's video, we're going to go through 7 signs of chronic inflammation and what you can do to improve symptoms. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Kate. I'm a health coach and I post videos on a high-fat, nutrient-dense way of eating. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, feel free to share, and make sure to subscribe. And make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where I share new posts every single day. The topic of today is chronic inflammation. So let's start off by talking about what inflammation is, because it isn't always a bad thing. Acute versus chronic inflammation. Inflammation is a part of the body's defense mechanism. It is the process in which the body recognizes something is trying to harm it and works to fight it off and heal your tissue. Inflammation can be triggered by an injury, an infection, or a toxin. Now, acute inflammation is a good thing. Think of when you roll your ankle. The area will become red, swollen, and stiff, which is the inflammatory response in action. As the injury heals, the inflammation goes down. Chronic inflammation happens when this response lingers, and your body is left in a state of high alert and high stress. And this is when inflammation can start to lead to problems and disease. But how can you know if you suffer from chronic inflammation? As I said at the start, a lot of people who have chronic inflammatory diseases have more than one. So these symptoms can manifest in different ways throughout the body. So let's get into the 7 signs of chronic inflammation, and make sure you stick around until the end because number 7 might surprise you. Number 1, low energy. If you are always tired and low in energy despite getting a good night's sleep, this can be a sign of chronic inflammation. Fatigue is a common symptom of a lot of inflammatory diseases. Low-grade inflammation can lead to an imbalance of energy availability and expenditure. It increases the requirement of cellular energy to ensure rapid regeneration of immune cells, and further depletes you of the fuel you need to feel energized. Number 2, joint and muscle pain. Now, of course, if you experience acute joint and muscle pain, this is totally normal. If you do a hard workout, your muscles should be sore afterwards as they break down and rebuild, and that isn't a bad thing. But if your joints or muscles are sore day in and day out, that's a bad sign. Inflammatory arthritis includes conditions characterized by pain, swelling, tenderness, and warmth in the joints, as well as morning stiffness that lasts for more than an hour. The immune system is mistakenly releasing inflammatory chemicals, despite there being no need to. The resulting inflammation attacks joint tissues and can lead to pain, swelling, and muscle loss. Number 3, brain fog. This is another very common symptom that accompanies inflammatory diseases. A study published at the end of 2019 found that inflammation appears to have a specific negative effect on the brain's readiness to reach and maintain an alert state. Participants of the study were injected with a vaccine known to cause temporary inflammation and were then given a cognitive test. When the same participants were injected with only water for placebo, they performed better on the same test. The study concluded, these novel findings suggest that acute inflammation requires individuals to exert greater cognitive effort when preparing for a task in order to maintain adequate behavioral performance. So if you are experiencing brain fog and can't figure out why, it could be a sign of chronic inflammation. Number 4, digestive problems. Symptoms of poor digestion, including bloating, diarrhea, and constipation, can be another sign of chronic inflammation. An imbalance in gut bacteria can cause an inflammatory response and lead to these symptoms. Inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD, is the name used to describe inflammation disorders of the digestive tract. Once again, the body is creating an inflammatory response to a problem that doesn't exist. Number 5, frequent infections. If you always seem to be getting sick, this can be another sign that you are chronically inflamed. Too much inflammation can lead to your immune system becoming weak, which can cause you to get sick more often. When you're chronically inflamed, your immune system is working non-stop for months, if not years. So it's understandable how this can lead to impaired function. Number 6, allergies. This is another example of chronic inflammation that you might not have expected, but once again, it comes back to a weakened immune system. The symptoms of allergies, like red, itchy eyes, a running nose, and the swelling of our airways, all come from inflammation caused by chemicals that we release from our own cells in a misguided attempt to protect ourselves. And finally, we have depression and anxiety. There is a link between depression and an increased immune activation, with many chronic disease sufferers also suffering from depression and anxiety. And I think the fact that both mood disorders and chronic inflammation are so prevalent in modern society is no coincidence. All right, so those are some of the most common signs of chronic inflammation, but what can you do if you are chronically inflamed? Your focus should be on reducing inflammation. Some of the ways you can do this are pretty obvious, but some of the other ones, not so much. Smoking and alcohol can be 2 big contributors. Smoking has been long known to increase inflammatory markers. In a 2016 report, scientists showed that nicotine activates certain white blood cells, which in turn release molecules that lead to increased inflammation. Chronic alcohol consumption impairs our gut and our liver function and can lead to intestinal inflammation. So at the very least, quitting smoking and reducing your alcohol intake can reduce inflammation. Our diets also play a big role in inflammation. If we are eating inflammatory foods every single day, it's no surprise that we are chronically inflamed. Some of the most inflammatory foods include refined sugar, margarine and vegetable oils such as canola, soybean, and corn oil, refined carbohydrates and grains, and anything that is ultra-processed. If you can cut these things out of your diet, your inflammation will be reduced. And then we have exercise. Moderate physical exercise stimulates the immune system and produces an anti-inflammatory cellular response. This is as easy as just going for a couple of walks throughout the day. You don't need to run and you don't need to weight train. Yes, those types of exercise can be beneficial, but just getting your body moving at all is most important. And then sleep. Sleep is so important for much of what our bodies do. It is our body's chance to recover, and getting proper and adequate sleep can help to keep our immune system healthy. And finally, we want to reduce stress. Reduced stress equals reduced inflammation. Cortisol, which is our body's stress hormone, has the ability to both stimulate and suppress the immune system. Acute stress stimulates it, and chronic stress suppresses it. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have suffered with chronic inflammation and what you did to combat it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you know someone who would find it useful, feel free to share. Click that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy my video on how a lack of sleep can lead to weight gain, which you can check out here. If you want to catch up on my most recent upload, you can click here. And if you want to check out my keto and carnivore diet coaching programs, you can find them here. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.